how to make a career in offensive security or how to make a career in cybersecurity and how you started with cybersecurity.
So I think I started approximate 9 years back. I still remember those old days in Mumbai, where I was a trainer in one of the institute, and I used to train people.
What is the one lesson you want to share with the people who are watching this podcast who actually looking for the first break?
So I think rather copy pasting things like, hey, I'm just struggling. It would be like, hey, what, I did some research. I'm looking for more. Could you please help me with the guidance? So that's something which is like an eye catcher, and most of the people would reply if they are not replying. So
if someone want to make a career in offensive security, what is the step-by-step process?
Running tools directly into a some sort of assessment or engagement won't make you a security or an offensive security expert, because any Tom, Dick and Harry can run XYZ tool.
We have a CTRP, whatever. So we have a different type of certification. As a beginner, which one should be prioritized? And is it mandatory to have a certification to get a first job?
Rather than jumping directly to a certification when the fresher is out.
Hi team, welcome to the session on Coffee with Prabh, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Dhiraj Mishra. Dhiraj Mishra having a distinguished experience, and he's a distinguished cybersecurity researcher and consultant with the wealth of experience in offensive security and defense security, and primarily into offensive, where he experienced in identifying and mitigating security vulnerability. Dhiraj also had a significant contributions in the field of including discovery of critical vulnerabilities, and along with that, widely used in platforms and softwares. And he is a well-known speaker, and he did a lot of conferences and all that. I personally followed him on LinkedIn after seeing a lot of content around offensive security, and I tried my best to reach out to him. And great that he respond back in a more effective manner. And it is great to honor us to have him in this particular platform where he can share his insight on how to make a career in offensive security. Thanks, Dhiraj bhai. Thank you so much for coming and taking out the time from a busy schedule. I know it's a weekend, it's a family time, but taking out the time for community, it's amazing.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm really glad that you are running this, and because this is really helping a lot of people out there. So I'm really, really glad that I can be part of it. And thank you once again for hosting me.
Thanks, Dhiraj bhai, for this kind of words, which always motivate me to make more and more better content. And we also have a great learning from you guys, because you are the people who are working on the practical side of that aspects. And what we getting the information from you is not less than a gold mine information for us.
Yeah.
So before we start with anything, I want to just understand how Dhiraj moved to offensive security, and how it's always the first question which I ask my speakers is how to make a career in offensive security, or how to make a career in cybersecurity, and how you started with cybersecurity.
So I think I started approximate 9 years back. I still remember those old days in Mumbai, where I was a trainer in one of the institute, and I used to train people. It was related to security itself. They used to run down a 6 months course, and I was one of the trainer during my college days. I used to do internship over there. So I think the best part, the overall objective, which I think would come out of this podcast would be, if you want to learn and grow, it's all about you start teaching people. And that's where you share knowledge between both of the parties, and that's how you grow. So yeah, I started with trainer, and then I used to train a lot of gentlemen from corporates. So just random one day, a guy walk in and said, "Hey, you know what? Let's get started from somewhere in security, and I would refer you somewhere in one of the big fours." So 2015, if I'm not wrong, I started working as a security analyst for EY in Mumbai itself. I worked there for approximately 2.5 years, started learning about telecom security. And the best part about that was I came and met a lot of good people in the team itself, because back in old days, like some amazing people used to do a lot of groundbreaking research. After that EY, I moved on. I worked to a company called Not So Secure, one of the very great technical company.
Yeah.
I think Anant
Anant,
used
yeah.
to.
I already
Yeah,
had an interview with Anant, yeah.
amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
He has oversighted me a lot. His feedback and contribution is amazing. I have also worked with Sid during that time. His supervision and feedback was really amazing. Then I moved to Cognosec, which was one of the company in Austria. Worked with some amazing guy. Then I started. So this like in 9 years of experience, my 5 years was purely into service, where I used to do consulting. The last 4 years was specifically into financial services, where I joined a bank in Dubai itself. But currently, I'm working for Derif, which is one of the trading platform which makes trading easier for most of the people out there. So again, I do a lot of offensive security for them. I ensure that it is secure and feasible for the users at the same time. And just to answer your question again, it all started from where I was delivering a lot of concepts to those guys when I was doing the internship. So yeah, it's been a crazy ride so far. And from trainer to a manager in offensive security for a trading platform was an amazing journey. So yeah, that's all.
So, this is actually a question which is on the spot after having a discussion with you regarding how you started. I'm sure a lot of people have also DM you, and a lot of people have raising their concerns on the on cybersecurity, or whether it's offensive and defensive, is we are not getting a job. We are not getting a job. So, what is the one lesson you want to share with the people who watching this podcast who actually looking for the first break? See, you started with training. Okay,
Yeah.
your first effort was make the things clear, and that's why you build the concepts, understanding, and all that. And I'm sure you agree with me. Concept understanding is the most important thing required in any vertical of cyber. Not it doesn't matter cyber, but in any vertical, whether it's a cyber, non-cyber, finance, non-finance, and all that. Now, a lot of freshers are doing a lot of struggle on getting a first opportunity. They're just looking for the first break. I'm sure a lot of people have reached out to you also, Dheeraj.
Yep, yep.
So, what is the one message you want to give to those people who looking for the first break in offense security, or whether it's a defensive?
Right. So, as you said, we do get a lot of DMs, and and I try to reply to most of them. If I ever look at my LinkedIn messages, I have summarized most of the things to those guys because I do understand how to get started. But here's one of the key breaker thing which I would like to say in this platform today, that you or maybe some other good guys in the community more better than me would have getting a lot of TMs, but it's just a simple copy paste, which most of the freshers does to a lot of the good guys, right? Rather than that, I would prefer that if people can learn something which is there already on the internet and try to write a blog out of it with their analysis, that's something additional which you are doing, and you are very familiar with your concepts, what you
Excellent.
learn, what you write on a blog, and if you keep posting those things, or if you add those blogs on your messages, that's something like that specifically me allows or to click that or to read what it is and how this guy have understand some sort of x vulnerability or some research or etc. So I think rather copy pasting things like, hey, I'm just struggling, it would be like, hey, you know what, I did some research, I'm looking for more, could you please help me with the guidance? So that's something which is like an eye catcher, and most of the people would reply if they are not replying. So, but yeah, this is what would be a really helpful thing. Like with your own research, some own sort of blogs, buckets, your GitHub profile, or your previous experience, or maybe a casual chit chat from where you start, and then you go ahead with an actual feedback of getting like how to get started into security. So this is really gonna help them.
So, so you agree on this part, because I also advocate the same thing, in that the new modernization of cybersecurity jobs or jobs applying it's basically gone, where you upload the CV and waiting for the shortlist call from the HR recruiter and all that. And now the modern approach, correct me if I'm wrong, Dheeraj bhai, like doing, you need to be more exposed on the LinkedIn. You should not have the ego, if I bring this content, what will be the impact, how the people, how the society going to react on that. But moreover, bringing more content on LinkedIn, write more blogs, having a GitHub is a modern way of getting a job, you mean to say? Because a lot of people like you also looking for the people for the offense security. So do you really think that, okay, a lot of seniors are there who always look for such content, and that can be the one icebreaker point for the fresher to get a job in cyber?
Yes, I think so, because you know what? So contents are good, and there are certain good contents, and there are certain your own research content. So if you Google today about deserialization, you will
Hmm.
get 100 videos, and there are 100 channels and 100 different people talking about it in 100 different ways.
Hmm.
But what you learn and what you write matters a lot. Like maybe there are certain other tool sets out there which I'm not familiar, but the guy who has wrote a blog, when he did his research by looking at all the 100 videos, and he came up with a new tool which is much more easy to find out such bugs. That is something really is
Build
really important.
credibility.
Yes, and it's always not just into security. If you have always seen like if there are good products, good services, and if you don't package them really well across,
Hmm.
it's not gonna sell out, right? And this is
Hmm.
what modern careers look like, according to me. You are
Hmm.
doing good things, so you need to showcase it somewhere in a platform in a good way, and you're doing something which contributes back to the community, or at least it's gonna help someone when they read their blog, GitHub, or YouTube channel, or some any X platform, right? So I think this is one of the best way, and I do, incline towards this approach where people are not just simply uploading their CVs with a lot of text, but research and URLs, GitHubs, and their projects which they are working on is really, that's something which is crazy, and that's what I, in my opinion, people should do.
Excellent. And Dhiraj, like, you have noticed, I don't know, like, 10 years back, okay, we don't have much YouTube, right? We
Yeah.
have YouTube, but it's not much YouTube with the content what we have, like Kane Enable, Ether Caps, and all that. So nowadays, what happen is a lot of beginners and a lot of freshers, what they're doing is they're trying to memorize the tool, how tool works. So let's say example, we are doing a ARP poisoning, or we are doing a man in the middle attack. So instead of understanding the logic behind man in the middle attack by manipulating the packet headers and all that, or manipulating the IP, they directly jump into the tool.
Mm.
So what is your advice in that case? Like, when it comes to offense security, that is my next question is like, if someone want to make a career in offensive security, what is the step-by-step process? I know there's a lot of blogs are there, but I want to understand from the person who built his own credibility and doing a transition from India to Dubai. Okay. And come on, tomorrow you cannot say, Dheeraj cannot say, okay, yes, because of his support, I got a job. You got a
Yeah.
job because of your skill. Huh,
Yes.
definitely there's a support is there to upgrade your skill, no doubt in that. But I'm sure today, wherever you're sitting, you're doing conferences and all that, it is based on your skill, right? You based on your things, not been supported by someone else. So what is a ideal roadmap you want to suggest to the people who really want to make a career in offense security? Because we have a lot of materials available in the market, but
Yeah.
they are getting so, like the way I say in CISS, we are in the information security governance. Step one is security plus, then get the understanding of the concept, then we move to governance side, IS 27001. So what is your roadmap for the offense security with a limited budget, if they don't have a limited budget, with limited budget they want to make a career? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll start with where you asked, like, the tools and the concept basically. So I just want to make clear for all of the people out there, at least who are getting started in offensive security, running tools directly into a, some sort of assessment or engagement won't make you a security or an offensive security expert, because any Tom, Dick, and Harry can run XYZ tool. And, sometime it can work and sometime it cannot. But the real security guys will try to understand the concepts behind it, because if let's suppose there's a scenario where you're trying to exploit an X vulnerability, but you are limited with the tool set, right? But you have a full-fledged knowledge about how it works, so you might go ahead and maybe write down your own tool, or maybe just look at other way around to get it exploited. But if you're very tool oriented, that's really not going to work into security, right? So if people are memorizing that, oh, if I need to exploit this, I need to run this, that's not a great approach to do it. So yeah, that's one of the key factor. The very first is concepts, not tool. Second is get started with basics always. I have seen a lot of memes out there where people stand on the stair one, and their next leg is directly on the stair four, right? And they skip the basics. Even when I started personally, I remember I did a small training in back in Kolkata. I don't remember very well, but that was not related to security. It was related to Red Hat Linux Enterprise, right? So I
Hmm.
started with RHEL. I started learning about Linux first. So basics plays a very important role. If you want to get started in offensive security, spend some time understanding the basics of OS. Like for an example, if we talk about endpoint, so let's see how it works, basically how things or system functions. So if you are able to understand how it functions, then you can write down or do a threat mapping of how it can be breaked.
Hmm.
Rather, if you run 100 different tools directly into that system and one worked, that is not a great approach. The great approach would be you sat down or you go one step back, you understand how it works. So in I understand right now that RHEL uses Yellow Dog update package manager, right?
Hmm.
YAM package manager. It's very old school, right? How people would know it. So I know that how it fetches package, from where it fetches package, how it does, what's the working is, how do we write a configuration file to fetch packages, and how it got flavored into Kali Linux or what operating system we are using into hacking today.
Hmm.
So if I install any tool for some purpose and I break some package, which usually happens a lot, and if I don't know how the roots were working in RHEL, I won't be able to fix it today over here, right? So I think understanding the key fact or the internals, how it works, is the second pillar. The first was the concepts, not tools. Second is the basics. And third, creating your own lab setup. So
Hmm.
when you have started learning something, you should definitely have your lab setup. Now, almost 9 years back when I started, there were no, at least I was not familiar that there are automation script
We
which
used to
can,
have backtrack.
yeah, backtrack. Yes. Actually, I started with where, backtrack was going to shut and Kali
Yeah.
Linux was
I'm going
coming
to
up.
Kali
So
transition.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not that old, but yeah, I do remember backtrack.
And we used to,
Um,
we used to have the first automation what we seen in Metasploit. You enter
oh
the
yes.
IP, it automate the exploit, and you test.
Yes, yes. So I think lab setup is really important because um, lab is where, first of all, again, what you have learned, that tools, not concepts, not tools, and second, you learn about the basics. Then you build up lab on top of it, and that's like a cream to your base. So when you have your lab setup, you understand how internals work and what tool set would be required to break it up, and your concepts are clear for sure. And lab is an environment where you can break things, you can fix it and break it again. So
Hmm.
this is how I think people should get started. I still do follow this approach for most of the things which I am learning today. I try to understand what concepts it requires, what are the existing tool set which people use in the market, and then is there any process where we can set up the lab for this, or is there any lab already freely available over the internet that I can break? Obviously, we have Hack in the Box as of today. You just sign up and you start doing things. There are 10 different walkthroughs for any lab. You start doing it for your own. If you don't understand, at least you take some reference from the walkthrough and then you start doing it back again. I'm not saying just simply copy paste it, but
So
you know,
I was about to discuss that part. Not everyone have a budget of building a hard. Today if you're talking about hosting a lab and all that, minimum 16 GB, 8 GB to 16 GB RAM is required, and it
definitely.
is more like a upfront capex we need. So
Yeah.
that was my question for you. And the next question is, the person having a basic laptop, a basic system with 4 GB RAM or 8 GB RAM, and he want to run multiple labs and all that. What is your recommendation in that case?
Right. So as I said, like there are services, for example, Hack in the Box is great.
Hmm.
We just
HITPM.
log in, yeah, with 4 GB RAM, with a minimal internet, it's gonna
Hmm.
work.
Hmm.
Because they take care of everything to you. All you would get is an IP and port. You just
Hmm.
connect to it and you start understanding and exploring how it can be exploited, right?
Hmm.
So Hack in the Box is a great way to get started. Um, Also, I think there's something called as Wellhub
One
machines.
lab machine, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with a 4 GB RAM, because Wellhub machines are made in such a way that it is very lightweight.
Hmm.
It's Linux distro with a very lightweight.
Hmm.
So you can install VirtualBox, which is again free open source. Just install it. You spin up your Wellhub machines inside it, and then you start breaking it. Because let's suppose if you want to do things offline, but not hack the box, sorry. So you can definitely use Wellhub for such things. So I would always recommend the go-to should be Hack the Box and Wellhub machines.
And if someone, like, now, as you said about concepts is required. Now, what is the step by step process? I know that, okay, you talk about concepts are required, basics are required. this is more from, so when I say definition of basics, how to jump, like directly can we do, we have a programs where they make you hacker in 5 days, hacker, or some people get influence also. Okay, Dheeraj bhai did the OSCP, I will also do OSCP. You
Yeah,
have seen
yeah,
this certification trend now in the market.
yes,
So my question is for you is like, if someone want to, okay, they decided, oh, I want to go in offensive security. So what is the structure learning they have to follow? Do they directly need to jump into the pen testing practices where they start with the reconnaissance, then scanning, learn and map, or they should know something before get into that?
yes. Definitely, they should know before they are jumping into security itself. For Okay, so let's put in this way. You are okay. I am a very fresher, and I want to start learning deserialization because
Hmm.
it's a very great vulnerability.
Hmm.
Now there are courses, or there are labs. You can directly jump in, and with a lot of X tools you can do it. But that's not a preferred way. I
Hmm.
would suggest to getting started with an exploitation of X issue or into a security is you first learn what all fundamentals are there. For example, how does a deserialization work? What's the logic behind it? What really happens when you do a file upload? What really happens when what server is? How it
Hmm.
communicates? How the handshake happens? Okay, what's the difference in HTTP and HTTPS? Why there are difference in it? Um, how does a deserialization request form look like, and why we have the request in such a way only, not in a different way? What all encryption or encoding is being used to unpack that package to get the code execution. So yeah, I would suggest that people should think in that way first. Again, the working model of how it needs to be done,
Hmm.
and then you start looking at, okay, if what happens that if I send this package with some X number, then what is the result? So it's like a try and test error first, I would say. And between those cases, you will try to learn about what deserialization is and how do you exploit it and what causes that vulnerability, right? So it doesn't it's not a single path where you just look at the issue. It's like, you have to look at the broader picture. What
Hmm.
is client? What is the server? How it get exploited? What is the impact? What are the tech stack which is, vulnerable to it? Now, this is like a homework before we get started exploitation. So that's really important. Doing an homework, understanding the tech stack, understanding how it works. That is really important rather than, you just simply go ahead with some random course which says that exploit
Okay, like
deserialization.
script kiddings.
Yeah, that's really not something which is recommended.
And that is basically more from the application perspective you said. What about the infrastructure? Like, if you're targeting the servers or some
Mhm.
networks and all that. So in that case,
Right. So in that case, when we start with infra, which is much more complex, because it depends company to company. Networking concepts are very important.
hmm.
uh, because okay, you have tools and everything and network, but you should understand how people or how servers communicate between each other. What are the firewall rules set inside it? So the best way to get started is to start. I mean, I have done bachelor's in information technology from Mumbai University, and there was this great book called Cryptography and Network Security from
Hmm. Hmm. They have multiple
right?
version now. Yeah,
Yes, it's one of the great
I
book to
agree.
get started into network security. I mean, I know there is a lot of gap what we learn, but what we have currently today back in India is also like a good start to getting into IT or in security and whatnot. So my interest into network security and cryptography started from there,
Hmm.
right? Because that used to be a subject for us, and I really used to enjoy learning it. And that cleared most of my basics when I started with network security, and that helped me to grow into infrastructure security. Because today you have a server, so obviously the book doesn't say that you have to run Nmap, but they have an alternative tool called Angry IP Scanner, which used
Hmm.
to yeah. I mean, because it's a GUI version of it, right? So we used to have that in the book. So using that, so then I started looking for, hey, is there an alternative of Angry IP Scanner to something else? Then I Googled and I came across Nmap is the one. Oh, so I can use Nmap. Does it come by default on any Linux distros? No, but there is this Linux distro called Backtrack or Kali Linux, which is coming up. So it has a package of entire hacking tool set, and it has Nmap by default. So you see stages, right? I was in a college, came up with a book called Network Security, started reading about it, starting
Hmm.
reading about network concepts. And then there are good tools inside that book, which is, GUI friendly, more user friendly. And then I started looking for, is there any other tool set for it? And then I land up with something, so it's like a path. And with all those, I understood about what network is, how networking works, what are the services which is there in a server, how does we enumerate those services using Angry IP Scanner, Nmap, or whatnot, how those services communicate and why they are really required,
Very good
right?
point.
Yeah. So yeah.
I think you have answered that question regarding, initially I was about to ask is, uh, you know, if we're talking about the freshers who are into offensive security, whether they need to understand the basics of networking programming or directly dive into Metasploit and Culinus, and very well you have placed that, answers. So, Dheeraj bhai, like when you're talking about the certifications, like when we have OACP, we have a CH, we have a PNPT, we have a CTRP, whatever. So we have a different type of certification. As a beginner, which one should be prioritized, and is it mandatory to have a certification to get a first job? If you talk about 2024 industry or 2025.
Yeah. So I got an opportunity, and I'm really glad that I do take a lot of interviews in my current company, in my previous company. So when there is a certification section, I do respect it. But I again look for what the guy has achieved,
Hmm.
right? So what he has done. So I would say that rather than certification, fresher should always look for what is freely available out there. People do put in their LinkedIn title, or maybe in subtitle, that top 10 in Hack the Box, top 120 in Hack the Box. So that is something, okay, maybe I'm not sure how he has done it. Is this a simply copy paste from a walkthrough, or he has done it by himself? That we come to know when we take interview. But rather than jumping directly to a certification when the fresher is out, I won't really recommend that, because I have been into a phases where I started jumping into many courses when back in those days,
Hmm.
but because
Hmm.
I didn't had any feedback, not any guidance during that period. But today I can say that there are so many resources out there free of cost, which can help you or gain more knowledge rather than certification, at least when you're starting from a fresher, right?
Okay.
Hack the box, we talked about, there's one thing.
Try
There are
Hackneys,
so
yeah.
yeah, there are certain bug bounty platforms like HackerOne, BugCrowd. So, a fresher should simply go ahead. I'm not saying, just don't dive directly into vulnerabilities. Just go ahead, go to hackerone.com/hacktivity, and you start looking at the disclosed reports. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure that it is, they are at like 0, and the HackerOne report would be at 100 or 90 from
Hmm.
the knowledge aspect. But I'm saying it, just try to read that English, just read it as an English and understand how the other attacker or a hacker in that entire activity approached a vulnerability, right? So that approach is really important. So just read it. So that's again an important, because in interview questions, okay, if you are a CEH or a OSCP, that's great. But
Hmm.
if you're unable to answer a
Basic.
question as which makes sense or which doesn't make any sense, that certification is not going to help. Most of the time such certifications only help you to go beyond HR. That's all, just like a check.
So I think
But
certifications only filter the CV, but cannot give you job.
yes, this is what I think, at least for the
Agree.
fresh. Yep,
Agree.
yep,
Because
yep,
because even you clear the certification, the person who taking an interview, he know about the concept that, see, his clear goal is I'm hiring for this particular purpose,
yep,
and I'm asking some question around that purpose. If you're unable to answer, then for me at least, this isn't suitable. Okay,
absolutely, yes.
right? So that's how the need to be prioritized. So what is your viewpoint then, if someone want to start, even they want to go for certification, so what should be their step by step process in terms of rating part?
Right. So again, this is coming back to, when a fresher graduates, right? So rather than jumping or spending money directly, because we easily get influenced, as you said in the
L-
beginning.
Today it is
Yeah.
definitely by LinkedIn.
Yes. So I would say like step back. What I have done in past when, there were companies which used to come into my college placement, or, when they used to try to influence that you join our courses, I used to go to their catalog and they have table of contents. They list down that this is what we are going to learn. And people used to summarize it well because that's how they used to market, right? So,
Hmm.
hacking Windows server with Metasploit, this, that, right? So very catchy words, very fancy word. This is one of the things. Go to their catalog, look at the table of contents, and Google the exact same thing which they have written. And you
Hmm.
can just go to the video section and you will find that, there are a bunch of YouTube channels which already explain such things free of cost, starting from how you set up things, what's the actual cause behind that vulnerability, and how do you actually exploit it, right? So that will save your money, that will save not falling you for, if the institute is not great, it won't, you will be saved from that. And you will see the best power today is Google by yourself.
Hmm.
And because AI is coming into picture, now people are, rather than Googling, I personally do a lot of AI searches these days, right? So more better results, precise results, directly right to the point. So I would recommend people that if they are getting certain calls or, something like that, as a fresher, you should always look at their catalogs, understand what they're going to learn, and just simply Google for those things and start absorbing those concepts directly from the, what is that. I remember I used to do this, when I'm pretty sure most of the people know him, Vivek sir, who started Security Tube, right?
Yeah, Vivek
So
Ramachandran.
I
Who
give
don't
him,
know? Who don't know?
yeah, I give
Yeah.
him a full, privilege that because of him, I started security, to be honest. I started looking at Security Tube, a lot of videos. That's a great thing to get started, right? So,
Actually,
I mean,
wireless hacking if someone has introduced in the world, I can say is this guy,
yes,
Vivek sir,
definitely, definitely,
and
yes.
how he used the labs and everything was free. Malab, the kind of a content he used to share on YouTube, if someone is want to make it market, easily the cost is like 1,000, $2,000 that time, and he make it everything free.
Yes, absolutely, yes. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. There are, people are making playlists like hell, 94, 95 videos for one specific, concept. It is free of cost available out there, and they should definitely give a attempt to read or look at those rather than directly jumping into certification. I'm not saying that certifications are bad. It's just when we talk about freshers getting out of college, they should not directly jump in. And once their concepts are clear, they should approach people in such a way that, as coming back to what I answered previously, I have been learning about these concepts. Here are my blog. Would you please take an opportunity or a chance to look if I can get an opportunity in X company and whatnot? So people do understand that this guy holds some sort of credentials. He do understand. And once you sit on a hot chair, starting with the interview questions, there's a guy with fresher guy with two certifications, and you are the one with a lot of concepts and basics clear. There is a 95% chances that you are going to get the job rather than the guy who directly jump onto the certification with a limited set of knowledge. So that's what I prefer basically. And I have never filtered personally that, okay, if the guy has done three certification and the one with no certification, let's prioritize the guy who has done the certification. Never. I like quickly treat them basic, and if their concepts are clear, it completely depends upon that.
Excellent. So, I had a different question, but I thought let me ask this because it is a very hot trending question. What should be included in the CV as a fresher? I know it's a bit out of syllabus, but I thought,
Yeah.
let me ask you because you are a kind of person who also into the hiring.
Yeah.
So when you are looking for the candidate, when you check the CVs and all that, what are the content which make you laugh, and what are the content make you good feel? Okay, yes, I think he's the right candidate. So what should be added and what should be avoided?
Yeah, I've seen this a lot, and it's not like it's funny sometimes, but I do respect everyone's, CV. But be very basic. Just make sure you have English written into it, no fancy words. I have seen people saying that I have like hacked into this website to get this. That's That's great. You have done it. If you have done it responsibly, that's more better. But you should not write such things, the fancy, catchy words that you have
Example,
hacked.
example.
So I have seen few resumes that were not resumes right now, very long back, that people have explicitly written a point saying that I've hacked into a college website and got access to the database and then dump this, dump that. It's great, but do you understand how did you hacked it, or they found it through SQLi injection? But when we ask question, they said, "Yeah, I just run SQL map to get the dump
X
out
equal
of
to
it."
1.
Definitely. So that's really not going to help. I think name with relevant number. I think address is also not really required. I see people putting addresses a lot. It's not really required. Picture is not really required again, because your experience, not experience, but your understanding concepts and your degree will speak on behalf of you. Then GitHub profiles, that's for sure. LinkedIn profile. Twitter is really, really important. I give all my credits to all the researchers out there to whom I follow on Twitter, or not just I follow, like many of them, because they disclose their trade crafts over there. They disclose their, hard and work research over there. So Twitter profile is again great. And then you write what university, what degree you have done, and what you have studied, right? So you
Hmm.
have studied about what. Grades into security, I'm not sure if it really matters as of today, because I see people putting that I have 6.5 CGPA or 7 CGPA. I mean,
Hmm.
okay to add, but it doesn't really matter, because if your concepts are clear, it's great. So what you have learned matters a lot. So I remember I used to write a lot about network security and cryptography that specific subject, and the Red Hat Linux, that I do have a knowledge of setting up Hello Update Package Manager in RHEL version
Hmm.
6.0, whatever.
Hmm.
So these are the things which you should list it down, rather than I hacked, or I have done this, I have done that. I think very basic, cut to the point, 1 or 2 pages max, not more than that. This is what I personally prefer.
And how important is participating in the capture the flag competition and bug bounty program for skill building for a fresher? And if you can spend 2 minutes on this, what is the meaning of this capture the flag? Because might be some folks who are new to the cyber and watching this podcast, they might not have visibility. So what is the meaning of this capture the flag? And
So
how it
capture.
people is using this for their freshers for building a skills? Yeah, sorry.
Yep. So capture the flag is a concept which is, hosted by many, many people out there. It can be like a service, or it can be as an individual. So what really happens behind it is, there would be a guy who made a server to be vulnerable with some XYZ vulnerability, but it is
Hmm.
not that easy to find.
Hmm.
You have to scratch your head. Again, you have to understand how it's going to work, how you will exploit it. And so there are different ways. So a capture the flag can be of a web related, OS related, API related, or a binary like an exe or ELF files related. And you have to start digging or understanding the approach of different ways of how you can really get in get into that system. And once you do that, you end up finding up a flag which has a pattern like CTF, then in curly bracket they will have some random values inside it. Depends.
Hmm.
So that character, that CTF flag is, it's a gem basically. So when I used to do CTF, it's an amazing. So that's how it works. It's
Hmm.
like a not a service, but it's like, people in a community build.
Hmm.
This invite hackers or freshers to get started into it. You can simply understand how it works. Is it web, network, or API? And based on
Hmm.
that, you start, executing your payloads.
And when it comes to the CTA part, so also a very good point, of a very good ice break for the freshers who want to get a job by showcasing their if they're winning that competitions and all that. Does it very useful for them?
Yes, definitely yes. I think CTF, adding CTF into a resume is a great thing.
Hmm.
Um, so I have seen specific resumes here in Dubai is because Dubai Police host a capture the flag event
Hmm.
every once, and there are freshers who participates, right? So I think it will happen next year again. Anyone from the world can participate. It's just you have to travel over here. And people do put this in their resume that I was in top 5 in Dubai Police CTF,
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
example.
Hmm.
So similar to that, we have Buckrowd, we have CTF run by HackerOne, we have
Hmm.
CTF run by Yes We Hack. So, and it's again free of cost. As I said, you just
Hmm.
need to sign up with your Gmail ID with a minimal
Hmm.
system.
Hmm.
You start breaking into it, and
Okay.
that's a gem to your belt when you start evaluating, or the company evaluates your resume.
And when we, so like sometimes what happened, the CTF is done in the conferences also, like we have a JISEC and all that, they do also the CTF. And so do we need to pay that money to be a part of that event and then participate in the CTF free, or I have no idea about that. So this is just my personal question I want to ask you.
I don't think so. We have to pay anything.
Anywhere in India
Like
also, like we have a NullCon or other
yes, null.
conferences. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Even Nalcon charges for any CTF. It's just
Hmm.
you have to register first. And I
Hmm.
think after the registration is done, you can simply go ahead and start playing the CTF. You
Okay.
have to build up your own team, or you
Hmm.
can individual.
Hmm.
Uh, it's very rare, or at least in my career experience, I've never seen any conferences which take money for CTF itself.
Okay.
Yeah, there might be conditions where first come, first serve, that if you
Hmm.
have registered first, then you can. So that's all. But I've never seen anyone, taking money to play CTF challenges. Never, it never happens like that.
Okay. And what are the essential tools that every fresher should learn when starting out offense security? Okay, we know basics, we done.
Yep.
Like we when I don't know, I started pen testing, ethical hacking in 2006, and during that time we used to have a backtrack, and the one tool that we use is always a metasploit, where we have a predefined exploit for Windows 2000 and Windows XP, and like
Right.
we do the buffer overflow and remotely we take an access to the system. But things got changed now. So what is your recommendations, like when it comes to the tools? Like Nmap is always evergreen, we have a new version is Nmap and all that, but what is your recommendation?
Again, if you talk about the tool set, I think Nmap is great
Hmm.
because it does a lot of probing into network.
Hmm.
Wireshark, because we have only, like, I have personally explored only like few things in Wireshark, but trust me, Wireshark is way great to do a lot many things.
Hmm.
So Wireshark to understand the traffic analysis. For exploitation, I will still prefer that people who are in freshers should start with Metasploit itself, because it's still a gem. It's
Hmm.
truly a because if you see today, Metasploit is also having a lot of advanced modules inside it,
Hmm.
which, okay, so we have new tools in the market like command and control, which is called C2. There are many good C2s out there. And most of the offensive security or red teamers prefer C2, but
Hmm.
they are experienced. But if you ask them personally, they all started with Metasploit. So even I started with, because Metasploit is so flexible enough. It gives you a pleasure of starting hacking with a CLI.
Hmm.
uh, and it is open source. The community is super awesome, I think. And the reason why they should start with Metasploit is Metasploit has got a Slack channel.
Hmm.
um, and if you are running something which you don't know how to do it, you can simply go to their random channel and put in your errors, your questions, and there would be some great guy responding back to your questions, right? Um, so I think Metasploit is one thing, Wireshark is one thing, Nmap is one thing. Then when it comes to web security, I think Burpsuit, the one and only.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we get a free work community version and the professional both.
And I think they have also have free videos for that, right?
Yes, yes. So that's again a great example. Portswigger has a lot of labs, which is
Uh-huh.
again, the labs are for free, and that some of them is like a big set of lab, where they help you understand how burp suit works
Hmm.
and what are the common vulnerabilities which you should identify in web application security. So that's Portswigger is something which has done really great.
That's great. And when it comes to the mindset and soft skills, does it important? Like when I say, might be I'm wrong, but correct me. Like when it comes to offense security, it's required a lot of patience. CTF is the best example of being patience. Don't be panic. So when it comes to offense security, people have this kind of perspective about solving mindset. Uh, you know, be having a curiosity about the things and all that. So what is your opinion on that? Like what do you think, what are the non-technical skills are required in offense security?
Yeah. So this is a really important question, and I would take this opportunity or a podcast to say this, that don't be shy to ask questions.
Hmm.
I think I personally prefer where I belong from. Most of the people are shy to ask questions,
if
right?
i say if I say this, what will be the they react and all that? Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, definitely yes. It matters a lot. So I would really say and request that don't be shy to ask questions. Questions can be right and wrong, but the
Hmm.
output of that can help you to enhance your current knowledge.
Hmm.
So ask questions. That's pillar one.
Hmm.
Apart from the security or concepts, it doesn't matter if you're asking question with a younger or an elder one.
Hmm.
You should not be shy. You can just go ahead and just ask. What's the worst can happen? It can be either right or wrong, right? Second is speaking skills are really important
Hmm.
because if you have exploited something, let's suppose you are a great good guy, if you have exploited something, but you are unable to convey it to someone, which so that research will go down.
Hmm.
So, writing your research or exploitation into English is also really important. So your speaking skills matters a lot. Speaking and writing both.
Hmm.
Um, I have suffered, to be honest, I have personally suffered a lot when I started my career in security because I used to do great things, but I always used to fail when it comes to report writing or delivering what I have done in front of management or even in colleagues as well. So and how you can do this or how you can make sure that your vocal is great is just record yourself, listen, how do you speak? And second is you start looking at a lot of podcast. I mean,
Hmm.
people start looking at your podcast if they are
Anyway,
not. Hey,
I'm
I
I'm
mean
a
that,
newbie.
yeah, because it's because you're starting things from very scratch, and that's
Yeah.
what people love to
Yeah.
listen at. So not just the technical skills, they should be good at report writing or putting things into a English words where people do understand, how they have exploited it or what the actual research talks about. So yeah,
And so you agree on this part is patience is also very important.
yeah. Very much, very much. So patience is important in everything. It's not just security. I mean, even if you run business for any X, Y, Z, patient is the key to success. So I delivered a fuzzing training for 4 days,
Hmm.
myself and one of my
When is the
colleagues.
next training?
So we got lucky to have training delivered in Hack Miami, which is
Okay.
next year in March.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, and from there we'll be starting our year. So hopefully it goes well.
And Dheeraj, if the people who are watching this video and they want to reach out to you, can I share your LinkedIn profile in the description box?
Yeah, definitely yes. Yes.
Thank you so much. How do you recommend the freshers to deal with the imposter syndromes in such a competitive field?
Yeah, I think this is again a very very sensitive topic, and I've listened, I've heard a lot of good podcast as well in past. So I would first say that this is a very active field. If you sleep at night, there is some sort of exploitation, and then you will feel like I could have done this as well. So this happens, and
Hmm.
I'll be very fair that this also happens to me sometime as of today. But during the period of time, I have controlled it, and the best way to control is thing happens and happens for a reason. You can't
Hmm.
have 100% coverage or visibility to everything. So you do what is supposed to be done by yourself. You do your hard work based on whatever time do you have. But if people are doing great and good, because everyone has a different set of capability, right? So you can't be happy with your own work. That's what I'm saying. If you have find out 10 things, and let's suppose one of your colleague has find out 20 of them, don't go into that way where you have this syndrome problem. Rather, you be happy with what you have, the 10 things which you have in your bucket or in your pocket. That's really important, and that's how I have cut down a lot of things. And security is very dynamic. I mean, you are the guy started in 2006, right? So you know much better than me. It's very active. Start from building a company, or if you are doing an interview, bug bounty, CTF, any services which you think, there are always people who would be better than you. You should look at them. you should learn from them, but you should not compare your achievements with them.
Someone else,
That's
yeah.
yeah, that's a key success, like a key factor which people should look at.
And the last question I want to ask you about, what kind of entry level roles should fresher look out to kickstart their career in offensive security?
Yeah, I think they should look for security analyst,
Hmm.
um, security analyst, security consultant,
Hmm.
because the structure or the naming title would be different across different companies. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I started as security analyst because it can help you to grow from basic to, that's how it starts, right? Security analyst, senior security analyst, consultant, senior consultant. So if the fresher wants to get started, they can start with security analyst, or they can start with trainer like us. Definitely.
And I think I completely agree on this part. Is if you are into training and all that, giving you good opportunity to review the concepts and tease the concepts, and it also solidify your concept, because someone is going to ask you question around that area. You'll do more hard work, because for you the
Yeah.
threat is if you're not able to answer the question.
Answer the question. Yes. Yes.
And the last point you said about contributing to open source projects or writing blogs are important. You know, apart from GitHub and all that, do you have any kind of a recommendations to showcase your skill? Like, okay, LinkedIn is there, creating your own YouTube channel is there, GitHub is there. Do you have any other recommendations to crack your first job?
I think these are the primary services which you can showcase,
Mm-hmm.
like Twitter. Okay, so I've seen not a trend, but I have seen like good research. What they do is researchers, if they break down their concepts into Twitter as a thread. So
Hmm.
thread is a very great way to read things. So if you create threads basically, and the thread can be of 2 to 3 lines, and then you go to the next, then again. So it breaks down the flow of the entire research or the concepts. That will make sure that the guy who takes your interview would be
Hmm.
able to understand that, okay, this person understand how the attack flow works like. So I think thread is again important, and even I have started doing that a lot. So if I'm working on a project X, I'll tweet about it. And if I enhance that project, I'm not gonna put a new tweet. I just
Hmm.
go to that same tweet and create a new thread that, hey, here's an enhancement of this, and this is what the enhancement does. And then it goes on. So I remember I created a thread of fuzzing Vim, which is a text editor, and I created like 10 to 3 same reply, like to the same thread that found a heap overflow, buffer overflow, this, that, and etc. So thread is important. GitHub profiles, YouTube, LinkedIn, Hack the Box, HackerOne profile, Bugcrowd profile. And what's the best part as of today is, um, if you are a fresher with good knowledge, concepts, toolset, companies like HackerOne, Bugcrowd, they themselves has a section now called open for job or open for profile, like
Okay.
open for job. Yeah, you can simply use them.
So, there is an opportunity to work as a freelancers also.
Yes, yes, there are. So if you're a good guy with good report writing skills, good things, they themselves reach out to you asking that, hey, can you be a freelance triager for us, basically? Or it really happens. I know few people who have done this.
Excellent. And do you have any recommendation for the books people should read who want to make a career in the offensive? Like, okay, videos are there. Not everyone is basically review the videos on third party author and all that. So in that case, if someone want to read a very good books, like we used to have this Tenenbaum for networkings and all that, and network security for the network security and cryptography for the network security basics. So do you have any recommendations?
Um, so I think the same book for the network security
Mm,
from Mr. Atul Kate.
mm.
That's one thing which I would suggest.
Okay.
Um, there was one book which I cannot recall the name because I'm mostly of a blog and a video guy.
Mm.
But if you want to get started, I think there used to be a lot of book. Um, Actually, I don't recall them really right now. But there was a book which talks about the security between the different stack which we have today, like server security, window
Okay.
endpoint security. There was a common book. Probably I'll just search and maybe put it down in the comment box in future.
Definitely, definitely. But this is why thank you so much, for taking out the time and I'm sure I've not bothered you so much with questions. We agree on 30 minutes, but now it's a 1 hour,
No, no,
and
that's great.
this is always my kind of a online for a gunpoint. I can say, okay, when I ask the people online or on the session that, okay, do let us know in the comment section. Those who watching this podcast, shall we disturb again, Dheeraj? I'm sure this guy will not say no to that. And Dheeraj bhai, what is the last message you want to convey to the freshers, who got, they are struggling, and they are now, they got exhausted. They spend money on the training and certifications, and still they're looking for the job. What is the one message you want to convey?
I would say don't give up.
Hmm.
We all have been into the same phase. It's not like, I started from directly from here. I
Hmm.
have also been at the same stage. I still remember my old days. So don't give up. Reach out to the right audience. Ask questions as much as you can. Writing right questions to right people may lead you to somewhere else.
Hmm.
So don't be shy. And never give up. That's something which I have been learning a lot, and I see a lot of entrepreneurs, even like everyone, they are just trying new day, new things, new day, new things. So yeah, that's what I will say. Reach out to right people, make sure that your vocal is loud and clear,
Hmm.
and you ask questions.
And Dheeraj bhai, one more important thing is that now, as a recruiter, when you're hiring any candidate, any 3 points, your recommendation, Prab, like when I hire, I check these three things and make sure who are watching this podcast. It is my just personal opinion. They should have these things when they're applying for any job.
Right. First is say no if you don't know anything, to be honest. Don't make sure that okay, you're just trying to make fun out of that interview. If anyone asks and you don't know, just say simply I don't know, but I may come back
Hmm.
with research, or I've never got any opportunity to do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Say no when it is required. Second thing is be happy. Whatever questions do you give, try to make sure that you interact a lot with the interviewer itself
Hmm.
about, even if you explain any such concepts, make sure that you have done it hands on by yourself, so that when you speak, it gets flavored down when you try to convey that. That's one thing. And the last would be the same which we talked about our CV, that basic English, no hackish word, uh, very, 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 what you have learned is what you put into your resume. That's all.
You should not have a Shashi Tharoor words in the CV.
Definitely, yes.
Entropy in the algorithm. So yeah, but thanks, Rizvai. Thank you for taking out the time for this workshop, and we're looking forward for more podcasts in 2025, more sessions in 25, and I'm sure I can disturb you.
Definitely, anytime. And thank you once again for hosting me. I'm really glad that you are running this and I'm able to contribute a little into the community. So thank you so much for inviting me. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dhiraj. And you don't know your potential, buddy. You're doing a lot of jobs, good jobs in the offense security, and I personally monitoring those stuff and all that. And that is the reason I reach out to you. I think you are the right person who can share the insights, the reality of offense security to people, to the kids who making a career in offensive. And keep up your work. And I'm sure, and it is really honor for us to have you in this platform. That okay, I can see in next 5 year, I might looking for the appointment from Dheeraj Mishra.
No,
But
no, it's
no, no,
not.
I'll see. I can predict future. I can see some people who rising on this vertical, and definitely, I can say tomorrow that this guy came in my podcast. Definitely, and we'll have more podcast if you don't
Yep.
mind.
For
Okay.
sure. Definitely. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dheeraj. And those who are watching this podcast, do let us know how do you find this podcast. And if you're new to the channel, to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss the future videos on a similar topic. Thank you so much. Good day. Bye.